we're going to talk about our main subject, which is the second movie of our No Ticket Required series. Gotta play that beautiful, beautiful bumper.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on us.
Hit it! This week, we are talking about Seabiscuit, based on a true story. I forgot this was made in 2003. I thought it was a lot more recent. I didn't realize this movie's 22 years old.
Yeah.
But this is based on a true story about the actual horse named Seabiscuit, who had a tremendous racing career and all the characters involved. We'll talk about them throughout this review. But this movie has some significance locally in the capital region where we live. Part of this movie was filmed at the Saratoga Racehorse in Saratoga, New York. So has some local feel to it. This movie was actually nominated for 8 Oscars. I didn't realize how acclaimed this movie was until I started looking into it. But this movie was nominated for 8 Academy Awards. And I'm trying to find out what they were nominated for. They won 5. They won 5 awards for this movie.
Wow.
So it was a nominee for Best Picture, Best Director, or Best Writing, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, and Best Sound Mixing. It won. What did it win for? Doesn't give me the winner though.
That's weird. Man, that's a letdown.
It's a letdown. Come on, IMDb, get together.
While you're looking
it was also a Golden Globe nominee for Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor with William H. Macy, who I'm surprised the Coen brothers let him act in this movie, considering all the roles he has in those movies. But while I find out what this movie exactly won an Oscar for, 2 Oscars for, Dustin, let me get your impressions of this movie. I know your sister recommended this movie to us.
Yeah.
So it's a little skeptical because of her other requests for voice.
Shots fired.
And Rich saying Simple Jack got snubbed by the Oscars. Yep, you never go full. Never mind. I won't say it.
Oh man.
But go ahead. Let's talk about this movie, Dustin. Let's talk about this movie. What's your impressions of this movie? Had you seen it before our screening? Before our review? And what's your thoughts about this movie?
Well, I had never seen it before, and I know. Let me just defend her a little bit. She had never seen Boys in the Boat. She just thought the premise sounded cool. But this movie she had seen, and she very much loves this movie. But she hadn't. It was funny. I was watching it with her and her family, and she didn't remember parts of the movie, but she was she was like, oh wait, does something bad happen here? And I was like, come on. That's I'm sitting here watching it. But I, like you, I did not think this movie was made in 2003. And let me say, I think her heartfelt endorsement of it kind of hurt the movie for me a little bit, because I think I was expecting more. But I will say this movie did win me over. But in the beginning, I was like, wait, where's this story going? You got Jeff Bridges, and he runs a bicycle shop, and then all of a sudden the guy comes in, he's like, can you fix my car? And he's like, yeah. And then he has it fully taken apart. And I'm like, and then you show Chris Cooper, which my sister correctly pointed out, this is one of the few movies where he does not play, to put it lightly, an unsavory character. Chris Cooper, usually much more villainous, but I did like him in this movie a lot. He's training horses and stuff, and he saves the one horse that's about to be put down. And I'm like, is this going to be about the struggle, the fight between horse and automobile? Where are we going? and then the movie kind of rounded into form. One thing that I did really like about this movie is that the narration. The narration kind of served as a good way, a good device of telling you where the country was at this time, and also kind of was a nice way to advance the time between Tobey Maguire's character, the jockey, and Seabiscuit himself. It kind of paralleled their rises, all while explaining the background of Mr. Howard, Jeff Bridges, and how he becomes the owner of this pretty unique horse. So it's a slow burn. This movie is not quick paced, but eventually it did get going. And let me just say that first racing scene was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And people are like trying to kill each other, almost dying on the track, whipping at each other, pulling at the stirrups. It's crazy out there. But I really liked how the movie it was well done, but it's a simple device. You have the parallel paths of Tobey Maguire, seeing him trying as a boxer and failing, and trying just certain different avenues of life, trying to hustle, trying to make a buck. And you see that Seabiscuit was kind of thrown into a couple of different positions before he really found his stride, pun intended. But it was nice to see their parallel rise, and you really realized that Seabiscuit and Tobey Maguire read a jockey that was oversized and and kind of cast aside, and especially when you find out he couldn't see in one eye because of said boxing. They're the perfect match for each other, because they're the horse that nobody believed in and the jockey that nobody believed in. And what do we love as a movie going public? A redemption story. And I think Seabiscuit gets there, especially when you have the big match race. The big match race against War Admiral, which shout out to War Admiral's owner. He's the dad from A League of Their Own. That's what I remember him. He's Marla Hooch's dad. I love that dude. But this movie, it took a while to get there for me, but it does ultimately get there, I think. The narration was a nice touch. I do have a soft spot for period pieces, but I would recommend this if you want, dare I may be so bold, if you want a horse racing movie that has a little bit of a Rocky feel to it. That's what they were trying to do, in my opinion, and I think that's what they did, and it adds another level when you realize it was based on a true story. And some of the messaging in this movie, I got wrapped up in it. And I'm not going to give away too much in case you want to watch, but Tobey Maguire's character has to make a comeback too. And it also shows a pretty nice friendship between Tobey Maguire and one of the other jockeys, who ends up having to ride Seabiscuit a little bit, a Hall of Fame jockey. They bring in a ringer a little bit. But the quote that stuck with me from this movie is, "You don't throw a whole life away just because it's banged up a little bit."
Get out of my head, man. I was going to talk about that.
That is Chris Cooper's character in this movie, Jim Smith, the trainer, the horse whisperer, if you will. And that really stuck with me, because I think that's what that's the whole movie's message, in my opinion. That's what it is, and I would recommend it. But I've gone on long enough. It's time to pass the baton to you, sir.
All right. Before we talk about I talk about Seabiscuit. Got some comments in the comments section. Dan Cruz from the Time to BS podcast. Say his name and he appears. It also says, "Get out of my hand. That's my purse. I don't know you." By the way, King of the Hill is coming back. Man.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And tragically, the voice for John Redcorn, he was unfortunately, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but he was shot and killed yesterday, which is really tragic. The thing is, we've lost 4 of the original voices from King of the Hill, which is very sad. So but really sad. Time to BS saying, "Get out of my head," and Pink Hand of Sap has appeared. Sports Ball.
Welcome everybody.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for chiming in. We appreciate you. All right. So my thoughts about Seabiscuit, and like I said, I Forgot to watch it this weekend. but hey, whatever. I mean, it's my life is life.
Yeah, it happens.
We had our happy hour on Friday. On Saturday, I was invited out to hang out and watch the Knicks lose to the Pacers, foreshadowing ahead. And Sunday was Sunday was also a little bit of a busy day, but I played some golf at simulate. I played at the golf simulator in Malta, which is pretty cool. So,
oh, nice.
My toe still hurts for some reason. My backswing. And then yesterday we had the belly up super show for the Stanley Cup final. Again, check it out. Check out the replay on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. But my impressions of Seabiscuit, I absolutely love this movie, because when I saw the original, I thought, my stupid dummy head, I thought it was on Disney. Secretariat is on Disney. Seabiscuit is a Universal film, and I had to wind up renting it on Amazon, which is fine. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I saw the time as soon as I hit play, I saw the runtime. I'm going, oh man, this is going to be a long film. Oh no. Tracy threw another dud recommended by Tracy. If you're watching Tracy, I kid. I love you. I love you. But this movie, like it very much like Draft Day. It starts fast and it just keeps going. It just keeps going, dragged a little bit at the end, but there was some. But again, this is the first time I've watched Seabiscuit myself, so I don't know what to expect. But it just seems like there were definitely a lot of redemption stories to this particular film. You got Seabiscuit himself, who was basically cast out and was just roughed up, and obviously an abused animal. From every indication, that smarmy Irish owner saying, just whip him a lot. He'll find out, because I guess he was as a horse. Like, for a horse, you want somebody to race. You don't want somebody with a gentle nature as a race horse. So obviously, you can tell that he was abused. He suffered abuse at the hands of different owners. Nobody can tame, and then after that, nobody can tame him until Red Pollard came along. So we got that redemption story. Then you got Red Pollard, as you mentioned, Dustin. He grew up in Canada, which I didn't know. I was like, all of a sudden it says the scene shifts to Alberta, Canada. I'm like, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
Should we get Brent on this review of this movie? Our friend, we mentioned Brent Redlinsky from the 1420 podcast, friend of the show, great guy. But you kind of see with the story what's happening, and then you see Red Pollard, how he grew up in supposedly an affluent family, very well read, memorized lines by heart. Then you got Mr. Howard, Charles Howard, as you mentioned, starts off as a wheel, I guess you could say a wheel constructor at Ford factory. Then he decides to go into the bicycle business. Then he becomes a car salesman. Eventually, I guess he owns the same car company, the Stanley car company, which ran on steam, not on gasoline. And then you had the narrative of the Depression, and I knew in that dinner scene where he's toasting his friends and he's celebrating and having a great party, that phone call, I'm like, I know it's coming now.
Yeah.
Stock market crash in 1929.
Yeah.
And now you start to set the scene where the Pollards basically become homeless. And I'm spoiling it a little bit here. But you see Red basically being, I don't want to say sold by his parents, but he's basically being told by his parents, there's no future here. There's no future with us. Don't bother being a vagrant with us. You're going to stay here, and you've got a gift. you've got a gift with horses to race horses or to train horses. This is your future. Stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the story with Charles Howard. His son tragically passes. His son was tragically killed.
The car, yeah.
In the car. His wife, played by Valerie Mahaffey, who recently passed away.
Yes, I think last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
Stupid cancer.
Yeah.
Valerie Mahaffey, who's a great comedic actress, by the way. If you don't remember her appearance in Wings, the show Wings, which is a great sitcom, one of my favorite sitcoms in the 80s and 90s. She's a great comedic actress and a great actress, period.
Yes, she was also in Seinfeld as one of George's many girlfriends, the accountant who was doing Jerry's taxes, and then George breaks up with her, and comedy ensues.
Yes, comedy.
Papier-mâché.
Papier-mâché. But Charles, his wife, couldn't take fighting too much grief over the loss of their son. Divorce. Yeah. Leaves. He goes to Mexico. He meets his future wife, Marcela Howard, played by Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks. And let me say, upgrade. Have you ever seen those of you who watched Idiocracy will know what I just referenced there.
Oh yeah. Then you also got Tom Smith, his story. He's a trainer. Again, just like everyone else in that era, falls upon hard times, winds up in Mexico of all places, and he finds the horse, and who's about to be destroyed, basically. He says, Nope, I got this. I'll take care of it. So you start to see the redemption arc. You see the pattern here, and you start to see the redemption arc start to play on. And yeah, that one line that when Charles and Tom meet, that one line where Tom says, you don't throw your whole life away just because he's banged up a little. That got me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because we all have these things. We all have these times in our life where we just feel broken. We feel useless. We don't feel like we're a cut above.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to feel that way at all. And that line just typifies, just because something's broken doesn't mean it's useless. And it brought me back to a book that I read, which I also listened to on audio from Andrew Clavin, The Great Good Thing, about his conversion to Christianity. He remembers a point in his life he was listening to the '86 Mets, and it was a pivotal game for the division. They were interviewing Gary Carter. At the end of one game, who I guess he scored the winning run, and his knees were bothering him for the entire season. This is because he's a catcher. Like I identify with it because I used to play catcher, so I know how tough that position is to play. By the way, I'd say top 3 positions, toughest positions in sports.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, to get in that stance alone is tough enough, and then you have to kind of massage the pitching staff when you need it. You have to know your pitchers. You have to understand. It's no coincidence that a lot of catchers become managers, for sure.
Nope, not at all. But it reminded me of a quote that Gary Carter said at the end of a game. He says, sometimes you gotta play through pain. And that basically described that line. It was just basically wrapped up into one very, very sweet package that like it kind of reminds you, like, yeah, everybody has worth, everybody has a purpose. You may not find it now, but you'll find it eventually. So again, the redemption arc, and it just seemed like all 4 of those stories kind of blended together. Like they all like symbiotically had a story to tell. Like Charles Howard, he's in the car business. He's in the bicycle business, and he goes into the car business. And it does seem like it wasn't completely unaffected by the depression, but it didn't seem like it hit him as hard as everybody else, like the Pollard family and Tom Smith. But he buys Seabiscuit, he buys the horse, goes to Saratoga, finds the horse, buys the horse. Pollard and Seabiscuit immediately hit it off. And actually, there's some trivia in here that in that one scene. There's that one scene where they're trying to figure out how to calm down Seabiscuit.
Mhm.
You see Tom Smith bringing a goat. I'm like,
Yes.
because I've seen those videos where like certain animals, they get along with each other. Well,
Mhm.
obviously the goat didn't make it, so they introduce a horse, and then it gets really really quiet, and you see the horse, the one horse, the horse they bring in, and and a dog laying down with Seabiscuit. And I was looking at trivia, and it says and on IMDb, it says the companions of Seabiscuit is given to calm him down were actually used in real life. The
Oh.
stray dog was named Pocatel. The female horse, Pumpkin, would accompany him to all his races throughout his racing career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you got his redemption arc. You've got Red Pollard, who is trying to find his way,
Yeah.
and then he finds this horse, and he gets along with this horse, and he basically becomes, with the exception of I think 2 races, his permanent rider for
Yeah.
all those handicaps and all in the big race that he wins. Tom Smith, the trainer, trying to make sure getting his redemption arc, basically was found in a vagrant as a vagrant out in the middle of a field and outside of a border town in Mexico. And you got Charles Howard, and you can see the relationship that Charles and Red have throughout the entire movie. And it comes to a head towards the end where Seabiscuit gets injured, his ligaments are damaged after a race, and Red's leg is broken before the big race against War
Yes.
Admiral. And they start to train together, and Charles wants him to get clearance from a doctor before they actually race again. He gets very concerned. And I was thinking to myself after that scene, he's treating him like he doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want to lose Red like he
Yeah.
lost his son. He's treating him like a son.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting parallel because you mentioned, his father, Red's father, he says, don't come with us, but he says the line, he says you have a gift. You have a
Yeah.
gift, but he heavily insinuates, he said, "Hey, we're going to call you, we're going to let you know where we are." And
Mm-hmm.
you get subtle signals and in some cases not so subtle signals that doesn't happen. Okay?
No.
And then um, with, as you pointed out, Mr. Howard's son passing away, that leaves obviously a gaping hole, which would never be filled. But there are parts where it illustrates this Seabiscuit, Mr. Howard, they become the family that Red never really had after his early childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Howard, he says at one point, because there's a point when they find out that Red cannot see in one eye. Chris
Yep.
Cooper, Jimmy Smith is ready to cut. He said he lied to us. You want a jockey who lied to us? And
Mm-hmm.
he basically, at that point, Jeff Bridges says the quote that Chris Cooper said to him earlier in the movie. He said, "You don't throw a whole life away just because it's a little banged up
Yep.
a little bit." And
Mm-hmm.
so it reaffirms. And he says to the reporters, he said, Red Pollard will be Seabiscuit's jockey forever.
Yep.
So it's really, he stands by Red for almost the entirety of this film.
Yeah. But I think my favorite character, it wasn't any of those 4.
Mm-hmm.
It was TikTok McLaughlin, radio announcer.
A little
Radio.
shout out to TikTok.
Played by William H. Macy again, who won a Golden Globe for the best. No, I'm sorry, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Seabiscuit. I looked into it a little bit more. Seabiscuit was nominated, but they did not win any Oscars. Which was kind of a shame because this is a very good film.
It's a good movie.
I won't say it's my top movie in the No Ticket Required series.
No.
There's a couple of movies ahead of it, but this is definitely up there as one of my favorites because a lot of these sports movies are based on true stories.
Yeah,
tend to hit the hardest the most. This was definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it had now it didn't do it for me in the big race against old War Admiral, but it did have that trademark thing where I got nervous at certain points, and I don't want to give away too much of what that point might be, because again, I recommend this film. It sounds like you recommend it too, Ryan.
Definitely. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes, but it goes by quick.
Yeah, it moves pretty quick. There are a few parts, like there's a part where I probably would have ended the movie if I was the director, but I'm glad that the director did not end the movie there, because then you have a second arc where both horse and man have to make a comeback.
Indeed, that's true. That's true. Got a comment in the comments, a couple comments in the comments section. Kevin Wilson, friend of the show, our boy of summer, saying good job on the super show. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate you. And you also said, and we got Mr. Cruz saying, you guys should review Crash. Fantastic film. I'm trying to find out which movie Crash you mean, because there's a couple of them titled Crash. One of them is about racial tensions in Los Angeles. Another one is about being stimulated sexually by car crashes.
I think that Mr. Cruz is talking about the first one with, I think Sandra Bullock is in that movie. I think, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. So I think maybe he meant Rush, which we already reviewed last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you could clarify for us, we appreciate you. But yeah, right now between Draft Day and Seabiscuit is currently in the number one place.
Yep.
And the reason why we reviewed Seabiscuit is because this weekend, interestingly enough, this movie was partially filmed in Saratoga.
Uh-huh.
The Belmont Stakes are this weekend, so it'll take place on Saturday. There's festivities going on throughout the whole week. They're actually closing Broadway on Wednesday night from like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm going,
wow.
Why is it closed? I'm like, oh, the Belmont is this weekend. So they're having a big concert. I guess they're having a concert there. Blues Traveler played there last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
During the concert on Broadway. So, but yeah, that's the reason why we picked Seabiscuit, is because the Belmont is this weekend. Next week, we're going to be reviewing Youngblood, which is a story about junior hockey starring Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, and Keanu Reeves.
And if you're doing the math and following along with us, what is about to commence very shortly? The Stanley Cup. This movie's about hockey. It's almost like Brian and I planned this.
Oh, and the movie after that is Blue Chips, because the NBA Finals they start on Thursday.
yeah.
So yes, there is a method to our madness, but yeah, that's next week. Youngblood is next week. Blue Chips is the week after, and then after that, it's No Holds Barred.
Oh man!
Which I'm looking forward to Dustin's cringe fest when we review that movie. But I watched it when I was a kid, but I won't spoil it any for you. But next week we'll review Youngblood, and we hope you watch it, and because you can stop by and you can review it with us. So
yeah.
So
right now, my ranking is with you, Ryan. Seabiscuit, then Draft Day. Sorry, Sonny.
Little crush on Jennifer Garner, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's been this edition of No Ticket Required.